Hey, welcome to Because I Can Life podcast. We're wrapping up May Margin Month. So if you didn't catch all of the episodes in May, go back and rewatch them. The first week we had Dean Graziosi come in to talk about how and why we can add educational pieces to our physical products. And then I go into exactly how I've done it and get those wheels turning in your head for you to be able to as well. Talk about how Macy has been selling t-shirts and how she's adding a piece of digital to hers. And then today, I want to follow it up with now that you're making more margins, or in the future, when you start implementing this stuff and you make more margins, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have more money to put in your pocket. And I want you to know what to do with it. Instead of just putting it in a savings account, what the 0.0001% interest, what do you do with it? How do you plant those seeds? And I learned this from Mel Abraham. How do you plant those seeds of money from your business so that they can grow into this big, beautiful harvest that can feed you for a very, very long time? And so I wanted to bring in Tasha Cochran today to talk about how you can plant those seeds so that you can live off the harvest of these bigger margins that you're going to get as you start implementing the May margin tactics. All right, so let's dig in to today's podcast episode, and Tasha is going to reveal what to do with that money. You ready? All right, let's go. Tasha, I'm so excited that you are here to talk about money. It's one of my favorite topics ever. And you just don't talk about how to create it. You talk a lot about how to keep it and build wealth. So can you give everybody a little background about you and what you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tasha Cochran, and I like to say that I teach personal finance to people who like nice things. So I'm not about frugality, but I am about helping you build wealth and take control of your money in a way that also allows you to spend for a life that you love.
I'm writing that down because I love that. Spend for a life that you love. You started out as a lawyer. So
Yes.
Why did you shift to helping people spend money on what they love to live this amazing life?
Well, so I actually started out as a single teen mom. So I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 19 years old, 18 years old. Actually, I had her when I was 19. And when I got pregnant with my daughter and became a single parent, there were so many people that told me that I couldn't have a life, that basically my life was ruined now because I'd made this decision. I didn't have a college education. I didn't have any support. All I had was this belief that my life was going to be amazing and that I was going to create an amazing life for my daughter. And I realized as I put myself through college, as I put myself through law school, as I became a banking and finance attorney, that one, I naturally had a gift for understanding personal finance because I was never taught about personal finance. I discovered it on my own, and then it became my practice area as an attorney. But two, that most other people have no idea what's possible with money. And that's why everyone told me that I was making a big mistake when I was a 19-year-old, because they could not fathom how I could go from a single teen mom to on track to having a multi-million-dollar nest egg in my lifetime. But I could see it. And so as a banking and finance attorney, I actually worked in public interest. So my whole job was making sure that the regulations that we were creating here in the US were protecting consumers and that we didn't have another 2008 recession from, wonky financial instruments. And so that was my job. And so I've always been about public interest, but I also realized that the education, people need to understand how to make better financial decisions in their own lives. And so I, with my expertise, felt like I could bring that to people in a way that felt very accessible and doable, both by showing what I've done in my own life, but sharing my expertise that I've learned as an attorney as well.
Okay, so when did you make the transition? Because now you're talking about your net worth, and you're so open and giving, and now you're teaching everyday entrepreneurs how to do this. So what led you from that to what you're currently doing right now?
So I was in a job that I hated. It was supposed to be a lifestyle job. I had my son after 4 years of infertility. And I wanted a job that would allow me to be home more instead of being a practicing attorney with a 3-hour commute. Well, that job turned into the job from hell. And I immediately started searching for a new job. And my partner, Joseph, said, okay, you need a passion project. Go do something to take your mind off of the fact that you hate this job. And so I started a YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, I documented my job hunt and I talked about all of the things about my life, including personal finance. So that's how I started talking about personal finance. And the more that I started talking about it, I started seeing what other people were saying. And I started recognizing that actually a lot of this stuff that people are just repeating because that's what they've heard other people say, it's not actually true. None of that, a lot of that stuff is just not facts. It's just things, concepts that people made up they got other people to believe this, but you don't actually have to follow those things in order to build wealth and enjoy your life and be financially responsible. So I just kept teaching more and more and more, and the business got bigger and bigger. And eventually I had to make a decision. Did I want to keep practicing law or did I want to transition into full-time entrepreneurship? And so I made the jump.
Woohoo! Thank goodness for us. Okay, so let's go back to you were saying things that people were just saying that weren't true. What are some of those things that we have been taught through YouTube, through college, through high school that are not actually true anymore?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things that you can't build wealth if you have debt, that you have to pay off your debt first, that the best way to build wealth is to be frugal and cut out lattes. And now in the entrepreneurship space, I do see things like you have to have $1 million business to build wealth. And I'm like, no, your business doesn't have to be quite that big. You know, in order for you to build true, long lasting wealth, you can build a business that's in alignment with your vision for the size business that you would like to have and still also build wealth.
Okay. So let's talk about one thing that there was so much in there, but you talked about how someone can build their wealth while they're still in debt. Will you talk about that concept?
Yeah. So the way that people often treat money or talk about money is like it's this one solid block. And money can either only do this one thing or only do this other thing. But in reality, we all know that money can work towards multiple goals at the same time. That's how we're able to eat, buy toilet paper, and also pay our light bill, right? So instead of looking at your money as either being put towards debt or put towards building wealth, recognize that your money can do both. And in fact, if you know how much money you want to have in retirement to have your ideal lifestyle in retirement, then you know the exact amount that you need to be investing every single month to hit your target. And everything else you can just spend. You can spend it on whatever you want, whether that's putting it towards paying down debt faster or increasing your lifestyle. All of that is okay, as long as you know what targets you're trying to hit.
Now, how does someone know, like, where is a good calculator to help them find the information to say, okay, this is how much I need to be putting away each month? What do you recommend?
Okay. So what I recommend is that you learn how personal finance works. You've got to understand your own finances instead of relying on calculators and rules of thumb. I can give you rules of thumb, but my recommendation is to always go beyond those. So how you decide how much you need to be putting away is to decide how much you want to have when you're ready to retire. So what does your ideal retirement lifestyle look like? Do you want to be frugal for your end of days? Do you want to have the single private room in the really nice retirement home that has the rooftop pool and the gourmet meals? Do you want to be able to travel a lot in your 50s, 60s, 70s and bring along and treat your kids and your grandkids? What do you want your life to look like? And then how much does that cost? Because that is the amount of money that you need to make sure that you have by the time you're ready to stop working.
Okay. And that, do you say, okay, we need to double it for inflation? Anything like that you add to it?
Yes. So what we teach inside of our program, Wealth Builder Society, is that you use today's dollars to determine the cost of things. Like, so you're imagining that lifestyle, you're looking at, do you want to go on a cruise to Europe 2 or 3 times a year? How much would that cost in today's dollars? And then you just use a calculator to do the projected future value by adjusting for inflation.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So another question, how can entrepreneurs make sure they're growing their wealth, not just income, but their actual wealth? What are some tips that you recommend?
So with entrepreneurs, the good news is you have full control over how much money you make.
Woo!
And yes, which is really awesome.
Dance party.
Yes, that's the biggest difference between an employee and an entrepreneur. You have complete control over your income and how much you pay yourself. So I recommend that as you're putting together your business budget for the year, hopefully you have one in advance, right? You're not just waiting for the money to come in and then deciding. You decide in advance how much you want your business to make. So you put in how much you want to get paid and how much you want your business to contribute to your own retirement. Then you add in the cost of delivering your service, whether it's your cost of goods, if you have a physical product that you incur costs to provide, and then the cost of any software that you're using. And so then that is going to be the minimum amount that you want your business to make for the year.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And then what do you recommend? Let's say that you've got the minimum amount that you want to make per year, right? You've got it. What do you recommend people do with it?
Oh, well, you invest it. The simplest. So there are really 3 types of investments, right? You have investing in the stock market, you have investing in a business, and then the third type of investment would be more of the cryptocurrencies, the new and emerging types of investments, which those are the ones that are sexy. Those are the ones that everyone talks about. But those are not the best place for you to start your wealth building journey. You put money in those things when your other nest egg is completely secure and you just have other money that you're like, all right, let's see what I can do with this. Let's see if I can try to beat the market. And I don't care if I lose this money. That's what you do with that stuff. But investing in the stock market in low fee index funds with a diversified portfolio, meaning that you're spreading out your investments across multiple segments of the market, is ideal, because what that does is it protects your portfolio even while it's growing. People tend to want to invest in a single piece of stock, like, oh, I love Tesla. Tesla's doing great. Or look at Apple or Amazon. Let me buy a couple of those stocks. But the problem is that you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. And we all know that putting all of your eggs in one basket means that they all break if the basket falls. So when you have that diversified portfolio, if one segment of the market isn't doing well, there's still a chance that there are other segments in your portfolio that are doing better. Just take the coronavirus, the pandemic, as an example. So we all know that anything related to travel and tourism isn't doing that well, but Zoom is doing really well. So technological companies, pharmaceutical companies are doing really well during the COVID pandemic. And so that's just a real world example of how market shifts can happen and they impact certain segments of the market and not others. So you want to make sure that you're spread out across many segments of the market, because you just have no idea. You can't predict what's going to happen.
Okay. So when you're talking about this, to put money into those type of things, what is the minimum amount that you have to have? You don't have to wait until you have $100,000 sitting in the bank account.
No, I started with just $50. Well, I was an employee. So I was an employee for most of the time when I was growing my nest egg, because I've only been solely an entrepreneur for about 2 years. But I started at $50 a month. And it really just depends on where you're investing, what the minimum is. But there are many places that will allow you to just start with $50 a month, and you can set up an automatic contribution so that that money is just invested automatically for you and you don't even have to think about it, which is also what I recommend, because the more that you can take your own decision making and your ability to have to say no to these other things that you want to do, you take that out, willpower out of the equation, the better off you'll be. Just put the money, don't even look at it, pretend it doesn't exist.
Do you teach like, okay, this is where you start? Like, this is the account you open. This is where you put that first $50. That's something that you teach. Okay. So
Yes.
if you're listening right now and you want to know more, like you're going to have to go over and follow Tasha, but I'm not done interviewing you. There's so much more I want to know. I can just see people saying, okay, but who do I give the $50 to? I've got $50, but what do I do with it? Okay. So good. We'll give all the links and all the information at the end, but will you dive into some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make, and not only what they make, but how to correct it?
Oh, goodness, with their finances. All right. So let's think. Number one is they don't actually plan to pay themselves. They don't factor the cost of them getting paid into business. And look, I understand why that is, because in the beginning, when you're growing your business, you're often pouring as much money as possible into your business for it to grow. And that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Your business is an investment. But at some point, you have to start pulling money out. You have to pay yourself. You've got to eat. And you've got to provide for your future self as well outside of your business. Because yes, it's possible that you can grow a business where you can step out of the business and the business will still pay you because you'll still own it. You don't want to, again, put all of your eggs in one basket. You don't want to only have all of your investments be in your own business. You also want to invest outside of your business in other people's businesses so that you can diversify. So paying yourself first. Okay. Making, and not just paying yourself, but actually enough money for you to be able to invest too, because there's meeting your basic expenses. And then there's putting away money for savings, putting away money in an emergency fund, paying for disability insurance when you are the primary person that makes money in the business. That's important because if you're out of commission, your business can't run the same. And so you want to make sure that you still have income coming in when you're not able to perform in your business. Another thing that I see people doing, and this is going to be counterintuitive, is there is this whole thing about running a debt-free business. And so it's like this badge of honor, and it's truly unfortunate because that running a debt-free business and being afraid to use resources to invest in your business, whether it's debt or otherwise, that can slow down your business growth. And so don't be afraid to invest in your business within reason. You've got to have a plan. I always recommend if you're taking on debt, you understand what that debt is, how much it's going to cost you, and how you're going to pay it back and what you have to do to make sure that you can pay it back. But don't let this idea that you shouldn't invest in a program or coaching or software or the tools that you need. Like my my business started with a vlogging camera that I put on a Best Buy credit card at 0% interest and paid off over the course of a few months. Like that's how my business started. And there are many times, even now, where as a business, I prefer the cash flow. And so let's replace our PC, our editing PC, which can be like $2,000 to $4,000. And I absolutely will finance that bad boy from a cash flow perspective. I prefer the cash flow. I understand I can go out and make more money. And it's just so much more convenient for me to have the cash flow now than to save, a couple $100s on interest, right? We're business owners. We can make that money back.
Oh, I love that. Because I'm the same way. Like at first, even with like learning and education online, I was so hesitant to pay, but yet I was able to pay the colleges just fine. Right. Yep. But there was some disconnect online. But then I started to immerse myself into coaching online, and oh my goodness, I sped up so fast. I didn't have to wait for 4 years to get a certificate that says, congratulations. I could start cranking out money as soon as I learned those concepts from people that would speed up the process. So I'm right there with you. What are some of the bad debts?
So I would say that there's really bad debt, right? There's stuff like payday loans that just have these insane terms and interest rates and very short-term loans. Loans that are predatory, where you don't actually realize what it is that you're getting into. So things where it's interest only with a balloon payment at the end, where you have to pay this large amount. And especially when we're in a low interest rate environment, any type of big loan that's an adjustable rate mortgage can be problematic. Now, credit card debt can also be problematic, but it only is problematic if you have too much of it. So you have to use debt responsibly, because even I'm in the midst of crunching the numbers because I'm getting ready to do an investing workshop. And a lot of people have asked about this idea of investing, even if they have a credit card that has a 30% interest rate. And the thing is that when you have a credit card, you are looking at a declining balance versus investing in an increasing balance. So while they're both compound interest, because you pay compound interest on a credit card, your credit card balance gets smaller and smaller every month. Your investments get larger and larger every month. And so what happens is that your dollars are actually worth a lot more investing because of compounding and this long period of time versus a credit card. So the only bad debt is debt that you didn't take out intentionally, that you don't know exactly how you're going to repay, and that leaves you really financially crunched, right? So if you don't have any kind of budget surplus, then that debt is going to be very, very difficult for you, because if any one other thing happens, then you've got to start making a decision about what you are and aren't going to pay. Having said that, it's all about perspective. And so what if you needed that bad debt to pay for cancer treatment to save a child, right? That debt wouldn't be bad. You'd consider it to be great. You'd be grateful for it. And so I would even argue, let's not think about any kind of debt as bad debt. It's just whether or not it's a good financial decision for you based on your vision, your goals, your needs.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. That was really good. Okay, so let's go back to mistakes. You said, don't forget to pull money out, pay yourself enough to invest, and debt is not bad for your business.
Right. Like make those debt, it can absolutely be an investment in the future growth of your business, because all debt is using money to buy back time. That's it. Because you can have the thing that you want right now. It's just going to cost you a little bit more money. And if you think about it, which one do you have more of, money or time? And the answer is...
All right, this podcast is going amazing, but I want to interrupt it with an Alison commercial. Why? I don't have any sponsors. So I'm going to be my own sponsor. In today's commercial, I want to tell you about the free 5-day sprint that I'm hosting starting on June 1st. I'm going to walk you through the process of how to find your perfect product to sell online in just 5 days. And if you're like, 5 days seems like a really long time to find my perfect product, well, let's just do a fact check. How old are you now? And maybe you still don't even have your perfect product to sell online. Yeah, let me help you. Let's have you feel that momentum, that movement going forward, and let's get your perfect product to sell online, because 2021 is panning out to be the biggest online sales in the history of ever. And it's your time to get a piece of that. And then I've had people learn the process from the 5-day sprint and implement it in other areas of their life, helping them to sell their house for more, their cars for more, getting their apartments rented even faster. Now, I want you to join, because guess what? I'm going to be showing up live with you, as well as my coaches, so that we can walk you through the process, answer your questions live with you. Be there. Start signing up on June 1st. You can go to findyourperfectproduct.com, and the actual event starts on June 7th. So I can't wait to see you in there. All right. Now let's get back to today's podcast episode with Tasha.
You have more money than you have time, because your time is limited, period. You don't know when it's going to end, but you can always go out and make more money, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur.
Okay. So let's go back to my audience. They're new entrepreneurs. They're starting, they're going. Any other tips that you want to give them to help them to start looking at wealth and creating that? Any other last tips?
I would say, oh my gosh, so many tips. There's so many things. Definitely watch your expenses, because I know for me, because my day job was funding my business, I certainly didn't pay close attention to my business expenses. And then once I was all in on my business and I'm like, oh, this business still needs to make sure it can pay me. Let me make sure that I'm being conscious about where I'm spending my business money and planning for the expenses that my business needs. That's important. So make sure you're watching that. I would say also be really intentional about and base your decisions on how much you need to make in your business. If you start from, okay, this is how much I need to make, and then you work backwards from there. So then that means I need to sell this many units. these are my conversion rates. It really does come down to math. So then you know exactly what you need to do to pour into that business machine to get it to churn out what you need to thrive in your financial life. And I would say, lastly, get financial education and coaching, because money, it's so emotional. We turn to it for everything. And yet, as a society, we are taught to sort of disdain money like it's this thing that's irrelevant, when really money is like the blood of our lives. It's the thing that keeps things moving. And if we don't have any, we kind of die. And so we need to treat it that way. We need to treat it like something that's important, something that is there to serve us, to facilitate the lives that we want, to help us grow our business, to help us pay our employees, to help us create better products and services for our clients, right? So learning how to manage your money well, both in your personal life and in your business life, is an essential skill. And so to that end, do not just go out and hire a financial advisor or an accountant because you don't want to learn how to manage your own money. That there is no substitute for you being the head of your finances, the CEO of your finances. You've got to know how every area of your finances work before you just outsource it to someone, because no one's going to care about your money as much as you do.
Amen to that. That is good. Okay, so where can people find you?
You can find me at One Big Happy Life. So onebighappylife.com, One Big Happy Life on Instagram, and also One Big Happy Life on YouTube.
And then I think we talked about this in the beginning, like you document your net worth. You talk about the journey about how you were in debt and how you've gotten out of debt and how you are building your wealth. So that is what I loved and why I wanted to bring you on, is because you're so transparent about this stuff. And I think it needs to be taught.
And let me also say, I'm not out of debt. You don't have to be out of debt to build wealth. And that's part of the reason why we show our finances. You don't have to do it quickly. So forget all those articles about the 30-year-olds who retired. That does not have to be you. You are not behind. You can take your time. You can build your wealth on your own timeline, and you don't have to rapidly pay off debt in order to build wealth either. So let's bust all those myths. Let's just stop.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Okay. Go check out Tasha. Go follow her on Instagram, get all the goods, because you listening know that I want you to make money, put it in your pocket, and keep it where it belongs.
Yes.
Tasha, thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
All right. That was such a fun conversation with Tasha. I love talking about money and how you can truly keep it, put it in your pocket, and make it work for you. Business is the thing that gets it going, and then investing is the thing that keeps it going. So that was a super fun conversation. You'll have to go follow her on Instagram. She's truly inspirational. So here we go with the top 10 takeaways about money. Number 1, remember, you have complete control over your income as an entrepreneur. That's so exciting, right? Number 2, decide in advance how much you want to make. You ever done that? Said, okay, I want to make this much per year, then work backwards and figure out how many pieces you need to sell to actually get to that number. Yeah, try that. It's pretty fun. Number 3, make sure that you pull out money out of your business to pay yourself, which leads me to number 4, is you should be paying yourself first. How many times do we pay everything and everybody and then get to the very end to find out there's only pennies left over? What if you reversed it and gave you a salary or an income that's worthy, that you deserve, and then take the rest of the money and work backwards with it? All right. Then number 5, that money that you're paying yourself, make sure there's enough in there to help you invest. You want to get that money working for you. Number 6, there's good debt and there's bad debt. Wait, no bad debt. What she talked about, that was a super eye opener. Look at what the debt is doing for you. Is it helping you go faster? Helping you to be able to create that income, that long sustaining income that you want? Which leads me to number 7, and that is money actually buys you time. So if you want to go faster, that's when you get to start investing in people or books or resources to help speed up your learning curve. All right, next one. Number 8 is watch your expenses and make sure to plan for them. Number 9, figure out the base that you want to put in your pocket and work backwards. I know that was a little bit of number 2, but let's just reinforce that. And then number 10, just don't turn your money over to financial advisors or whoever without doing the research first. Know where your money's going for you, because you are going to do the best things with your money because it's yours. You worked for it. You want to keep it and you want it to grow. Anyway, I hope you loved that podcast episode. Money is always a super fun topic to talk about. And that actually wraps us up with this margin month, May. Beginning of the month, we talked about how to increase your margins. And then we went to the end of the month to know what to do with those extra margins. You invest them so that it can keep paying you for a long time. All right. Have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you later.